It's morning and it's Midge. It's about 6:30. Not a breeze in here. Oh dear. And look, starting to get covered by. So in a minute I'll give my brush down. I just came out because I need cool nature, but I also need their bowls so I can feed them. It's just doomed when it's like this. You just can't do nothing. Look at it, they're all covered up. But we went out at 12 o'clock last night to let the dogs out, and it was pitch black. Didn't see Midge at all. Didn't really felt like the odd bite. But anyway, came in the tent and turned the light on, and the tent was actually full of midges. It all followed us in. It was chaos. You too. No injuries around here. There's lots of sticks sticking out. One of them falls on, they get a puncture. Hey, hey! I have to baby them, especially when there's seriousness like that. I've seen it happen before, where dogs messing about. One's ended up impaling itself on a stick. Right, I've got to make sure they've all had a drink. Stella, you had a drink? And get them in the tent, then get myself in the tent and feed them inside the tent, and hopefully the sun will come out in the next hour or so, and I can start boiling some water so I can have a coffee. But I don't like cooking inside a tent, not when it's not needed. Stella, do you want a drink? I said no. They're all covered in midges, you see, which means they're going to bring them in. Don't see them. They actually bite through your clothing. I mean, it's not dreadful at the moment, but it's bad enough. If you can see, start climbing over your hands and everything. But if we stay out here much longer, we'll be absolutely covered. But I'm hoping that sun. The reason I pitched here in the opening was I hope the sun comes out, casts down here, and that clears a lot of them away because the sun's directly on them. And I'm hoping around. So it has to be 9 o'clock. I know it's terrible, but it's always 9 o'clock when the wind picks up. But well, normally 9:30 to be honest. But we didn't get no rain last night, they forecast, which is weird. So I think I've had enough chatting. I can feel them biting through my trousers and everything, leggings, everything. Right, I'll get into the tent with the other million. Sit rep. There's lots of midges. Have you seen the ones outside? That's why I'm stuck in here. Unbelievable. Bag some bits up, but I've got to just sit and wait for the wind. It might pick up a bit earlier, hopefully. But to do anything out there at the moment would be chaos. So, fed the dogs. I've got new bites all over me. If it shows on the camera. Sods. How can little insects cause so much havoc? Look at that. We brought a few in. The ones outside are a lot worse. Nine o'clock and still waiting for a breeze. So I've got a cup of coffee. Probably bring things out here into the open and do any bagging up. I was trying to have a cup of coffee whilst waiting for the breeze. I'm going to check on the Garmin and see what the weather's going to be, because they got that wrong last night. They said rain. We never had no rain. Thank God. So So if just a little bit of breeze and it changes everything. The absolute tent is absolutely hammered with midges. But it's amazing once they get in, and I don't know if it's just today or what, but there was thousands of them in, and we just lay there from about 6 o'clock because there was no way I was trying to move around out of here at 6 o'clock. It was just heaving, and they didn't bother us. They just stayed at the roof of the tent like idiots. But main aim is just get a cup of coffee, then I can start bagging up, and then hopefully brush my teeth if it gets less midgy. The problem is trying to drink your coffee through your midge net. But normally about 9:30, that's when the wind picks up. I know, it's crazy, isn't it? Why 9:30? It's just the way it is. I had a great night's sleep. I had more than enough sleep, because don't forget we were in the tent during the day yesterday a lot because it was raining and there was heavy showers and mist, and so tent's done fine. One thing I did wrong, because I was expecting rain last night, the tent's back there, I didn't crack the vents on the outside, you know, on the fly sheet, because I thought I don't know which way the rain's going to blow or anything. So I kept it all zipped up, so of course it got a lot of condensation because of the temperature change. But that's another reason why I want some wind, so I can just air the tent and let it dry out a bit. Then when we get over the other side, near the streams, I can pitch it early, you see. Not really put any kit in, just pitch it early and let it dry out there. So that's the two aims. Now I just want a report that the weather's going to be good, so I'm going to do that now. 10:30, and there's a breeze coming from somewhere, but I don't know where. It's suddenly come, but it's very, very light. But it's been out. It's been horrendous. Unbelievable. Very deep. Yeah, they were with midges. Look, bodies over me everywhere. Thankfully, I put some DEET on it, seemed to keep the vast majority away. Rogue was trying to catch them. Dogs have been good. It's very muggy. I think that's because there's no breeze. Anyway, I've got to get this down and packed up and just finish the last bits. Late, but we ain't got far to go, so I don't care. And to be honest, I wouldn't have dived out and that amongst that lot. It was absolutely horrendous. Right, let's get it down. Right, 11:06. That's where the tent was. Leave no trace. The droppings are not anywhere over that side. They're over there and amongst the tall grass and God knows what. I'm not chasing that. Yeah, the breeze has just started, and for some reason it's coming from a northwesterly direction. It's supposed to be southerly. Southerly's over there. It was southwest yesterday. It seems to swivel around, but it always happens in places like this. So I had to take my time, move my gear from the midge infested woods to out here where there was the tiniest of breeze at the time, and start bagging it up piece by piece. Still didn't do the best of jobs because you're trying to rush with a net on, and you're getting hot because you've got a cap over your head just to keep the mesh away from your face. And with no breeze, obviously you're going to feel the heat more. It's about, I'd say it's about 17, 18, but it's muggy. Very muggy. I think that's due to no breeze. But it'd be nice for us to take a nice slow trek up that track. Let's get plenty of water. Thankfully the water's all back. So camp was good overnight. Camp was great yesterday. Gave me a chance to catch up on all the sleep I'd lost driving up, and from the heat wave we've had days before, it's hard to sleep at the night, isn't it? So this is a nice respite for us from what we've had, and hence the dogs are looking so much happier because they ain't got 30-degree heat to play in, which absolutely whacks them out. Look at Rebel's harness. But I've got to be honest, the midges were all over the place. I was covered. I don't know, any dead bodies still on me, but dogs were brilliant. I thought they would be ones. Even Rogue hasn't been fussing, which is, you can see him down near the pack now. Anywhere there's the slightest shade, but thankfully there is a breeze picking up. But every time you put your head down to kind of load your pack, you're getting obliterated. This is the Decathlon 4-class MT 100 70 litre. I was going to say 65. It's an easy fit. Don't know if you can see that. And I've got to be honest, it's a really good pack. A few quirks I'm a bit weird, I find strange. I mean, these tassels and all this are very light, so it's like pulling wire, you know what I mean? They're so hard on your fingers, but it makes the pack lighter, doesn't it? The bottle thing, I've got an Allergen bottle. Sorry, I didn't duck it low enough. Where the Allergen goes in, it doesn't seem to go far enough. I think that will stretch in time. It should, the Allergen should sit on that, but there ain't enough stretch at the moment. But it's a good pack. I'll show you more about it through the next day or so. But I'm happy. I've just got to get these dogs loaded up. I'm still carrying this bag of odds and ends. It's got a solar panel and all that. Obviously, this hasn't got outside mesh or straps, which I would normally attach things to. I'm getting attacked by a fly. There's every insect you can think of today. So it's the same with the sleeping bag. Tent. I had to use. They've got attachments, but no straps. So I've had to use string, which that looks off centre now, but I'm not going to worry about it as long as it gets me up there. Right, I've got to load dogs up and get out of this craziness and get on with my hiking. I want to get to that crossing, river crossing. So it's up here past the Black Hut, up that slow incline, then down the other side, down some zigzags, and then there's the water crossing, and that's where I want to be. But we've got to pitch somewhere nice and open. We do not want to be enclosed today or tomorrow, because it'll be the same problem, midges, because it looks like the winds are going to be light at the moment. I checked on the Garmin. It was saying things like 7s and 8s during the early morning, going up 10s and 12s, which is nice to have a cool breeze, but them 7 and 8s, when you're in shelter, they're down to 3s and 4s if that, and that means you're going to be covered in midges. Right, let's get these loaded up before I get eaten alive by midges still, and there's some kind of fly flying around. Right, onwards and upwards. To say it's muggy is an understatement. Don't know if you can see this grass, barely moving. Hardly any breeze. Thankfully the midges have left us alone because we're out here in the open. Just need some breeze. Cool us down. So I'm pacing this out, especially for Stella, so she can have rests and she can get in the loch in a bit, cool them down. Wow. Muggy. And I just do not know where the breeze is coming from. Sometimes it's coming from an easterly, and another time it's coming from a northwesterly. I think it's a northwesterly now. I'm hoping we get over the top and we might pick some up. There's a breeze. Where's that coming from? Wow. The only thing that would be worse than this is if there was no cloud in the sky and it was baking hot, then we would be cooking. Thankfully, a lot of cloud. Yep, there's a slight breeze every now and then. As I say, my pack load is only about 45 pounds, so that's brilliant. And that gear there is only weighing about £5 or £6. That would all transfer, except for the leads, into their packs once they get low. I always pack too much dog food. This time I've not packed as much. I seem to pack too much. So what I'm doing here is just easing off, taking a breather, letting that cool air cool me down. It's not a race. And to get ill out here, as I say, this is not classed as remote, but to get ill out here, you don't want to get heat stroke or anything like that. That's why you'll see me protect the dogs and make sure they get in the water or in shade. You can't handle the issues if a disaster comes along. You get ill or the dogs get ill, you've got a long way to track back with a sick dog or you being sick. So just use common sense. Haven't seen a single person in the last 2 days. And let's be honest, apart from it being muggy and midgy, it's perfect hiking weather, isn't it? Maybe for me it is. Oh, that's nice. Oh, the other reason I got this pack is it's not flush to my back, if you get what I mean. It's curved, so it allows air to get to my back. It's doing the job at the moment. I can feel the cool air getting to my back. They've been really wonderful. How come they're not moaning, whinging and giving me... I want to know if these are my dogs. Especially this one. Where's she gone? Oh, she's hiding. Sorry, she's hiding. Right, up to the top and hopefully we'll pick a nice breeze up there. Finally we're getting some breeze up here. It's coming from northwesterly. Right. That's where we were pitched the first day of the last trip, up on that mound there, looking down, and obviously not too far from the trap, which was always my worry, but we didn't get that many people. I think 3 or 4 the most that day. Wow, breeze. Thank you. Oh, that makes a total difference. Down there, very oppressive, very kind of heavy, sticky, tacky. Now I'm feeling refreshed and vibrant and ready to go. Are you feeling vibrant, Stella? I can't believe these are my 3 dogs. They've been so good this last 2 days. I need to get them tested at the vets. I think something's come down during the night and changed them, like some UFO or something. No whinging, no moaning. So I'm going to get to the Black Hut, take my pack off, take their packs off, walk them down to the loch, make sure they get a good soak in. That'll cool them nice and down. They'll refresh them. Then I've got to brush my teeth, which I didn't do, and have a drink, short rest, and then we will move on. Made the hut. Let's walk down and get the dogs dunked. Still no one about. Rebel, come on. Ro was getting carried away last time, so hopefully she'll get in it. Look at them. Don't need telling, do they? See, it's still a bit stiff, but we're not doing big distances. Searching is brilliant for her because I can't cover big distances on searching. I have to just do what I can do. And that means normally in zones, doesn't it? I've got to watch out for any human waste. People are so lazy. They tend to do things and just leave it. Rebel! That's why I watching him. Hope there's no rubbish here. In the water! Good. tell you what can be better than watching your dogs have fun in a loch. Well, that was a short one. I've got to get Stella wet, so there's only one way I'm going to do that. But I only do once. I'm not doing lots of throws. That's what I wanted. Stella likes to swim. She really likes it. Also cools her down. But I don't want to do lots of throwing because I don't want to do lots of running. But that now will cool her down. These two, I'm trying to get in. Rebel would never go in. He spooked himself a long time ago, annoyed out. He'll never do it. But Rogue might. That's how they're feeling. I'm going to check and see how much rubbish is lying around. Such a beautiful place, isn't it? Panting like a good one. Right. Had a short stop. Brush my teeth. Put suntan cream on, which I couldn't do earlier because of the midges. They would all get stuck in it. Call in nature. All done. Again, couldn't do that earlier. It's just too crazy. Had 3 tea cakes, which I split with the dogs. Kind of a short snack. Get us through to later on. Dogs should be fed about 1. I'll probably feed them about 2ish because they had a late breakfast. Topped up my water. That's about it. Dogs are dunk, so everyone's happy. Right, let's get the story rolling. That's the spot. I don't know if you can see that little flat piece of land in between the peninsula there, where Neil Skinner, aged 72, disappeared from his tent and was never seen again. Strange. So, mountain rescue were called out on the 9th. Searched everywhere. Dog teams, dive teams, helicopters, you name it. And since then, I have covered up the valleys. Me and Mike covered the lochs in the far distance. Mike was a member that joined the Hike for Neil team. A guy called Dave Willis helped us as well. I mean, everywhere's been covered basically. The woods I've been through in the winter, out to about 200 metres or so. I mean, as you can see, there's a barbed wire 6-foot fence. There is a couple of crossings of the fence, but again, it's dense. It's misleading, that land. It's much more deeper, denser than it looks, and there's holes everywhere. So we thought maybe he went over the fence for this or that, you know. But it didn't make sense. We're all kind of grabbing at straws. Now let's go to the beginning. Because any of you who've been following the story will know bits and bobs. And bits I've reported and, you know, snippets here and there. But I don't think anyone really knows the true facts. And I'm starting to sort out the true facts from all the chaff, should we call it. Anyway, Neil Skinner, age 72. He had health conditions. He hadn't done much hiking in recent years. And when I say recent years, I'm talking last 10 years. He had a bleed on the brain. I don't know when that was. I'm guessing it was when he was 55, around that time, between 55 and 60, I would say. I'm just guessing on that. And that left him with some impairments, but he had Asperger's. How can I say this nicely? I just got to be blunt with some things, and I don't mean to offend anyone. I mean, he was overweight. He wasn't in his best health, you know what I mean? and he liked to have his whiskey drink, you know, and pop to his local pub. So, you know, he was a typical elderly gentleman that liked to go out at the weekends and do them, well, they're not even hikes, are they? They're like countryside walks with teams, you know, where they go out, stuff at a few pubs, come back, and, you know, they enjoy themselves. He also liked his poetry, and he liked the fine arts, and he used to be a member of a group, and, you know, they used to meet in the evenings and read poetry and have a kind of reading, you know. I've got to be honest, I'm not into all that, so I can't really talk much about that. But anyway, in 2021, the year before he went missing from here, he went out with two friends that he did know very well. And he went, he came to Scotland and he went to Isle of Skye. And somewhere in the process of, during that time they were on Isle of Skye, they separated. Now, the reports go, Neil didn't want to go higher areas. Neil wanted to just ponder around somewhere low. This is on the Isle of Skye. And the other two friends, man and woman, wanted to go higher areas. So they separated. Now, Neil went missing for 5 hours. A mountain rescue team were called out. Search teams, everyone. The helicopter was out and everything. Helicopter, I believe, spotted him and directed the mountain rescue team to her. Neil was on his way coming down. Now, that doesn't make sense because Neil shouldn't have been going up because he didn't want to go up. But somehow he ended up going up and he was coming down. I'm sorry, I apologise now if you're getting any wind noise because the wind's picking up all of a sudden. So that was in 2021. Now, you got to remember, early stages of 2021 and all of basically 2020 were COVID and lockdowns and all that. So Neil couldn't have gone out there in 2 years, nothing like Scotland or anything like that. So that in 4 years, he's only done that Isle of Skye one where he got lost and this one where he came here. Now, on this one, he met the same two friends, and what happened, he found out the same two friends were going to come up and do a walking trip on the 6th of May for a few days. Now, the reports go for 5 or 6 days. I would say treat that with a pinch of salt, that 5 or 6 days. It was a bank holiday weekend. What happens on bank holiday weekends? People come up on a Friday and they go back on a Monday. So I'll get to that in a minute. So Neil heard the last minute their two friends were coming to the bridge of Orchy area and going to spend a few days here. So it was a last minute thing for Neil. I think the friends kept it quiet because they didn't want Neil joining in because they didn't want to offend him, but because they lost him the year before. This is me making assumptions, but it does make sense, doesn't it? But he found out anyway and they let him join them. So on the 6th of May, they drove up from Yorkshire and stopped at Tyndrum, at the campsite there. At Tyndrum, by the way, I think it's classed as the campsite and pods and all that, but they camped there and spent the day there. Now, Saturday lunchtime, sometime around lunchtime, Neil was spotted at CCTV cameras in the Green Welly at Tyndrum. So they popped into the shop at Tyndrum on a Saturday lunchtime-ish, yeah? The reports go, he went there because he wanted to buy a mug and a camelback. Now, I believe, and I'll put up on the screen here, Neil did an assessment of Tyndrum and I think it was, if it weren't the campsite, it was, I think it was the campsite, Tyndrum, by the way. And he said 3 things. This is, he posted it in 2016. That shows how long ago he was probably in the area before these Isle of Skye trips and this one where he got lost from here. And I'll put it on the screen. He posted great food, great whiskey, and a good place to lose yourself in the mountains. And that is a bit ironic, isn't it, that last statement, because he did actually get lost up here. I think it's just bad combination. You know, there's nothing to it. You know what I mean? It's just loose words. He's saying he didn't never believed that would happen. Anyway, going back to what I'm trying to get to, the Green Welly is well known for selling whiskey. Now, Neil he loved his whiskey. Now, please don't get me wrong what I'm saying now. I'm not saying he's a drunk. I'm not saying he's alcoholic. I'm not saying he's going to be staggering around campsites. So please don't kind of make assumptions he's drank half a bottle of whiskey and staggered off into the loch. I mean, I'm not saying that at all. He was one of these people, and I used to do this a lot. I stopped taking whiskey because I was getting to enjoy it too much. He was one of these people, he'd love his wee dram, as he put it, or people would say, and he'd read his poetry. So camped there now makes sense to me, because if he's got his tent and his gear, and he's got a bottle of whiskey, and he's just having a nice chilled out evenings with his bottle of whiskey and reading poetry, total sense that makes now. Now, to piece it together, when Neil went missing, the people that he used to meet up with and do the poetry and all that, they put a plaque up where they used to meet up. I can't remember, somewhere in Yorkshire, and I've seen the picture of the plaque, and it says, "To Neil, in remembrance of Neil," or something like that, a kind, gentle, generous man, great wit, or something like that. And it says, "A man that loved more than a wee dram of whiskey." So they actually put it in on the plaque, you know what I mean? So that shows how much Neil liked his whiskey. So I believe the whole aim to go to the Green Valley was not to get a mug and a camelback, it was to get a bottle of whiskey. And I think the family didn't want that portrayed out because, and it's me making assumptions here, because the minute you say whiskey, bottle of whiskey, everyone's going to jump to conclusions. So that makes sense. Anyway, so 6th of May, as I said, they stopped at Tyndrum, by the way, campsite. 7th, they were seen at lunchtime. Neil was spotted on CCTV cameras. This is what the police are saying. In the Green Valley at Tyndrum, just down the road here. Right, so I'm losing my way here. So let's go back on that. Saturday 7th, he was spotted on CCTV in the Green Valley shop. The police are not going to say what he was buying, but the family have put in that it was a mug and a camelback. I believe he was getting his whiskey. He loved it. There's no way he's going to miss going into the Green Valley and buying a nice bottle of whiskey. That's why he loved the area. I don't think he ever had any intentions of doing any walking. But anyway, now, after going to the Green Valley on the 7th, they travelled up by car. He didn't drive, one of his friends drove, and they parked up Victoria Bridge car park. They then hiked, this is on the 7th of May, they then hiked from Victoria Bridge car park all the way here. Now, this is where the reports really get confusing, because I'll put out on the screen, one of his daughters, only 4 or 5 months after Neil went missing, stated this, and you'll see it on the screen. She posted on our web sleuths, which is a kind of a site that deals with missing people, strange crime cases and all that. But it's got a good reputation, and it's very thorough in its assessment of who's talking truth and verified member and all this kind of stuff. They go into it really deep. But anyway, she posted on there that the reports, which I'm going to say, these are the reports what happened. They came here, right, pitched here on the 7th, and then the next day, right, they set off from the 7th, early morning on the 8th, sorry. I've got to correct myself, I don't want to confuse you. So they've hiked up from Victoria Bridge car park, pitched here on the 7th, all three, stopped here the night, then 8th in the morning, all three have packed up their tents and set off here to go towards Glenkinglas Lodge. Now, the reports state, after an hour and a half from leaving here, Neil turned around, said he didn't feel well, didn't feel it, or whatever the words are, and then came all the way back uphill, all the way back here, pitched his tent here, and it was all by himself. His friends carried on where they were, probably way past Glenkinglas, because they left early in the morning, so you're going to cover some distance. So Neil's hiked all the way back uphill, not feeling well, which I don't think could have happened. Come here, and that's the last anyone ever knows what's happened to Neil. During the process of either leaving the car park at Victoria Bridge car park, or on the travels towards Glenkinglas before Neil turned round. Neil was supposed to have swapped a coat with a lady that's smaller than him, so how he would have worn her coat, I don't know. And also a car key, spare car key, was given to him, just in case, this is what the reports are, just in case he wanted to come to this site, pitch here, and then he might want to go to the car to fix some bits up. Now, you think about that for a start. If he struggled to come all the way here and sleep here one night and then try and hike a little bit further on and found it hard work up there, and then come back here because he wanted to come back here and just rest, that doesn't make sense. Why would you give him a car key? He can't do 6 miles that way and 6 miles back. Can't do it. He was struggling to do the first 6 miles, so that doesn't make sense. The other thing I don't think makes sense is, how many of you have got a spare car key and you just say, oh yeah, my friend doesn't feel well, here, mate. You don't have spare car keys on you. The whole point of having spare car keys, so if you lose your originals, you've got one safe somewhere. Most people keep them at home, some might keep them with friends or whatever. Anyway, that's the first report. But going back to what I was stating earlier, the daughter reported on this website called Web Sleuths that there was never a camp here on the 7th. They carried on hiking. The two friends carried on hiking and left Neil here. So let's get that right. The three walked up from Victoria Bridge car park. Neil was left here with his tent, and the two friends carried on and left Neil here. Now, the reports are that it was supposed to be a walking holiday for 5 or 6 days. To me, I don't believe that at all. I'm sorry, I've got to be honest. It was a bank holiday weekend. They came out on the Friday, started to Tindra. What made it even more convincing is the two friends turned around the next day, which would have been the 9th, right? They left Neil here on the 7th. They were gone for a day, right? And then they turned round on the 9th because it was raining heavily. And they came back here and found no Neil here. That's when they started to raise the alarm with the police. Now, a bit of rain made them turn round. If they're on a 5 or 6 day holiday, you don't do that. You know. So, it doesn't make sense again. Why would they go all the way up there to turn round? Why did Neil go up there to turn round when he wasn't well, when he's going uphill? So, I personally think, and then it goes back to other things I found out. Daughter told me, one of the daughters told me, he's got 2 daughters. The other daughter told me, when we were on the hike for Neil meet, in front of everyone, this was nothing in confidence, that Neil is not supposed to like using maps, not like supposed to be like using phones or anything, navigation devices, GPS, anything like that. Had OS maps on his bed, open on his bed in his room. That's what she said. So he had OS maps open on his bed. What would Neil be doing with OS maps if he had them? And I think what happened was, and this is the reason I think he had an OS map, I think his 2 friends were going to Victoria Bridge car park right back there, and they were doing the West Highland Way for a little bit, for 3 days. But Neil didn't want to do the walking because several weeks before he set off to come on this trip, he'd been moaning to one of his daughters, saying that he's got a problem with one of his feet. I don't know if it's arthritis or an old injury or something like that. So I don't think he would want to be doing walking. I think they split at Victoria Bridge car park, hence the reason the spare car key was given to Neil. That makes sense. If you know you're going to leave your friend and he's going to go a different direction than you, then you're going to arrange to meet back up on a certain day. So I reckon they split up on the Saturday, the 7th, and they carried up the West Highland Way, and their plan was to do 2 or 3 days up the West Highland Way, turn back, and then go back to Victoria Bridge car park and meet Neil there. Neil, I don't know if he's been here before, but was going to walk up to Loch Dochard and pitch at his tent there, all by himself. Now, the reason I say I believe that is, why did Neil pitch here? Why didn't Neil pitch on the better spots there? Because when he came up, there was other people there. Neil wanted his own privacy. So he went past the people. There was two spots up there you could pitch, but you'd be more or less on top of each other. And Neil wouldn't want that. Neil was the kind of person who liked his own privacy and his own space. So what he did, he bypassed them. And then when he came here and he saw this place, he went, perfect, just perfect for me. And as I say, it was free. It was Saturday, Sunday, and he was going to turn around Monday. And Neil pitched there. He was by himself. He was only there for 3 days at the most. He had his bottle of whiskey. He wasn't going to go anywhere. He wasn't going hiking. He wasn't going trekking. Now, to add on to this, the only time there was a sighting, this is on Sunday the 8th, was someone spotted him. I mean, forget all the reports you're going to hear about heads popping out of tents and someone saw me here. They're not verified. There was only one verified. I spoke to one of the police members that was in the search, involved in the search, and he says he was spotted south of Loch Dochard on the track. That's north, this is south, this is the track. Doesn't say which way he was going. But that was a Saturday. Sunday, sorry. 8th was a Sunday, sorry. He was spotted on the track on the 8th on the Sunday by someone either hiking past or they didn't give details. Now, you imagine if you're pitched there, you're looking for water or you're going for a call of nature or something like that, you'll be doing your normal errands. Now, in his tent, when the police searched his tent, sorry, I'm listening to my dog, she's doing something behind me. Everything was in his tent. Food, sleeping bag, waterproofs, think about that, waterproofs, hiking poles, think of that one, torch, head torch in there, phone, wallet, everything you can think of. The only thing he went missing with was his coat, which can't be his coat because let's think about it. The coat that he swapped with his so-called friend, that's the reports, it's way too small for him. So I take that report with a pinch of salt. Doesn't make sense, doesn't add up. I believe he left his tent, and I'll explain later on in a minute what happened. He was, put like this, Neil liked his whiskey. He liked his poetry. He liked his quiet life. He liked to relax and just chill. He wasn't out doing marathons. This is where we all got confused on. So his routine would be little jobs during the day, enjoy the sights, enjoy the view, have his drink, have his food, whatever he's got. At night, coffee, whatever, we dram, read some poetry. If it was okay, probably go for a little stroll. And then the best thing that really indicates timings is he soaked his porridge at night for the next day. Now, when they got back to the tent, when the police searched the tent, as I say, they found all his gear in there. Rucksack, backpack, everything you can think of, stove, food, everything. And they found his porridge soaking. Now, let's be honest, you're going to soak your porridge later in the evening. You're going to soak them at lunchtime. You're not going to soak them at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. You're going to soak them late in the evening. So that really, and that also points that no head torch, no hiking poles. So he hasn't gone on a hike. He hasn't gone out when it's dark. His porridge is soaking for the next morning. So there's a good reason to believe he did that within an hour of settling down for the night. But what it does point to, and again, this daughter stated, the first daughter that posted on the web sleuths, it's a forum, as I say, that deals with missing cases and all kinds of things related to that. She posted, Neil, her father, was well known to go for walks in the morning, early morning, and wander for miles, sometimes too long, be gone for hours. So my indication is that Monday morning he left. The Monday he was reported missing is the Monday morning when he left. He left his tent and he had to go one or two ways. And when I've been doing my searches and all that, I've always thought he just left his tent and walked out. But then the more I pondered out when I was at home, I thought, where can he go? What could he do? You know, I've covered everything from suicide and everything, and I don't believe it was anything to do with suicide. I thought maybe he's had a new life or something, but it's just, he's 72 years of age. It's a lot of stress to put on something. I'm not saying it never happens, but it's a lot of stress to put on yourself and your family to just walk out of there and go where? With what? and how do you survive after, you know, financially and everything. So that was the only thing that was indicating, because I thought the two friends had gone up there. I thought Neil had gone up there and turned round. Well, on my last trip, if you've been watching my videos, I went over there and it was a hot day. And to me, there's no way Neil would have got doubled back and gone all the way 4 miles uphill, carrying a backpack and all his gear and tent and everything, when he's not feeling well, just to get back here. When he could have pitched somewhere down there, or carried on 20 minutes with his friends, if they were there with him, and gone to Glenkinglas. So I don't believe the two friends ever went up there. I don't believe Neil ever went up there. But what I do believe, Neil left his tent on a Monday morning and he went up here. And there's several reasons why I believe it was the morning. I was here on the 12th of May on my last trip. He went missing on the 9th. It's amazing how the nights get really cold and chilly. Now, if Neil hadn't got the best of gear, I bet every morning he would wake up and feel the cold more than probably I do. And because he liked his walks, the best thing for him to do is get out in the morning, not touch his porridge because it's too early. He'd get up like 4, 5, I'm guessing, because it gets light up past 2, 3 o'clock. And he set off up here and just went for a walk. Now I'll show you what I believe happened. And don't forget, no hiking poles, no waterproofs, no head torch. He's got nothing except the coat he's got on his back. And why did he leave everything there in the tent, thinking, you know, people will say, well, it's a bit strange leaving his phone and everything in his tent. It could get stolen. Well, if you're leaving at 4 or 5 in the morning going for a little wander, he's thinking he's going for a little wander. You're not going to have robbers coming by at that time in the morning to rob your tent. So it even makes more sense that you're not worried about tent security as such, because you think you're only going for an hour, 2 hours. Right. So that's what I believe what's happened. So I don't believe the two friends ever went up there. I believe they split up at just past Victoria Bridge car park, and they went up the West Highland Way, and the plan was to meet up, and whoever gets back to the car's got a car key. It makes sense. It makes so much sense, that does. So if Neil gets back before them, he's got a car key. He only has to hike back 6 miles at the most. So he's not on a hiking trip or anything. He's got his hiking poles just in case he wants to ponder around here during the day. He wasn't going on no missions. So, and what I believe, the friends got back to the car on that Monday, on the 9th, and the weather changed drastically on the Monday morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, really heavy rain. No sign of Neil. They drop their kit off the car and they go looking for Neil and come up here and find the tent, but no Neil. So why did they place, why was a story put out that, you know, they went up here, Neil turned around, then there was another one saying, no, Neil never turned around, you know, and this is from family members, don't forget, not from, and the family member that posted the original statement saying there was never any hike up there and Neil only stayed up there, and Neil was known for, she stated, you know, and I'll put again on the screen, she says the press got things wrong. They always get things wrong. There was it was never any hike up there and all this. So she was right. And what happened? The press took it, carried it on, and no one corrected the press. And that's what should have happened. Someone should have said, look, can you correct the story? This is not right. But instead they let it roll, thinking it wouldn't affect the searching. But what happened by letting it carry on, it did affect searching, because we're all looking in the wrong areas. If we knew there was no one had been up there, people would start going up there and looking. So I came along on the scene, started asking questions in the early videos and all that, and all of a sudden I was getting flack from one member, not the woman, not the daughter that had put out the original post on Web Sleuth saying there was no camp and the press had got things wrong. I was getting a lot of flack from the other daughter saying, why are you asking questions and all that? And I think they didn't like the fact that I was catching on to things had gone wrong. The reports were wrong. So it now makes sense. Neil was on his Todd here. Two friends had gone up Western Highland Way. They were due to come back Monday because they were going to go back Monday. It wasn't a 5 or 6 day hike. Neil was supposed to meet him at the car park. He had a spare key. They'd already given him a spare key because he didn't want to do the hiking. but he didn't come back. They dropped the gear up, come searching for Neil, and then started freaking out because Neil's gone missing again. Now, I think they all believed that in the early hours that, well, he got lost in Isle of Skye, we found him after 5 hours. Let's not kind of say too much, you know what I mean? But then as Neil it got longer and longer, no sign of Neil, they all started freaking out and panicking, and then that's why the two friends haven't talked. And I'll go on to that in a minute, why the two friends haven't talked when I get up there and explain why I believe they haven't talked. Right, let's move on. Hope that makes a bit of sense and people understand it. I'm sorry I'm chopping and changing, but I'm trying to make it crystal clear. If you've got any questions, just ask and I will reply down below just to make it clearer. But I hope I'm going to try and back out everything I'm saying by posting bits on the screen so you can actually see for yourself. They're not from me, they're actually statements or things been said before, you know what I mean? Months, only 4 and 5 months after Neil went missing, the original statements were made on Web Sleuths, yet the reports continued on in the press and carried on like a snowball effect through different papers, because they just all get one kind of story and they just go on with it. And then what made it worse, the family thought, well, this is the story, it's going out, we're going to have to stick with it. So they kind of let it carry on. They should have stopped it or corrected it early as possible. So I believe the mountain rescue, police, including myself as well, and other volunteers, we've all searched all the wrong areas. We've completely missed what could have happened. And it's not anyone's real mistake, it's just the muddiness of the story that's confused people. Right, let's move on, I'll show you.